KE0LCK. Yeah, I was hoping something a little simpler than getting up at the antenna, but it sounds like you got to be there to get an accurate reading, which is it's logical. It really is. And to Greg, I just happened to ride by the entrance yesterday, and it's snow covered and in the shade. KE0LCK, back to net.
SUN.
Go ahead, Alec.
If you wanted a methodology that would not require access to the antenna directly, but would also be much less accurate and much more of an estimate than an actual workable number, you could take the specs from the cable manufacturer and put your power meter directly at the back of your radio, and if you knew the specs for the cable, the length of cable, and you could then calculate the loss, you would at least then have an estimate. And I stress that because you have to trust the specs from the cable manufacturer. You would get an estimate of what's going into the antenna. There is a little app online that, if you search for it, that will actually make those calculations for you, depending on whether it's RG8X or RG8 or RG8U, what type of coax you're using, and can estimate the loss in power over a certain distance, but that's only going to give you an estimate. However, it does not require getting up right next to your antenna tower, or right next to your antenna up the tower. Back to net.
MBH.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okie doke. For absolute maximum, figure out how well the antenna is actually performing, you can do both. Measure the power feeding into the antenna itself. It obviates the need for calculations of feed line loss. You get the power fed directly into the antenna, and then with a field strength meter, measure and get the calculations for the power radiated. Then that will show you of how close or how good the actual gain of the antenna is, and then you can get a good idea of the overall effectiveness of the system. Back to net, W0MBH.
W0LEV.
Dave.
Yeah, Mike's comment is correct, but doing that, especially at HF, is very, very, very involved. Reflections from the ground, reflections from close by objects, houses, cars, so on and so forth can really mucky up the measurement. The best way to do that is to have a reference antenna. In our case, that probably is a dipole, half-wave dipole, decoupled from the coax with proper choke balun or common mode choke. That's the reference. You know that's 2.2 dB above isotropic. Then measure in the same position antenna under test. That way you have a known reference against which to compare. W0LEV.
Any other comments?
MIC.
Go ahead, Mark.
We could also invert the question and let someone else take measurements for us far, far away. One way to look at this is from the antenna looking outward, saying, how much power am I radiating? How well am I doing? What's my field strength? And the other way to do it is to say, well, let me run a calibrated amount of power into the antenna and ask people all over the world to give me back signal strength measurements. There is a system for doing this called Whisper, and I believe it's spelled funny. I believe it's WISPR. The Whisper people are now putting out inexpensive, low-powered transmitters and receivers and connections to the internet, and you can take your antenna, hook up a whisper transmitter, let it run for a while, and then get on the web and see the signal strength reports for your signal from all over the world. That will give you a very good idea how well you're getting out compared to other people and compared to changes you make in your own antenna.
Excellent suggestion, Mark. Yes.
LCK. SK0LCK. I have tried Whisper and noticed a difference on the reception during a different time of day. So wouldn't you have to do it very close, make your changes and do it very close to your original mark?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, you actually care about differences in propagation, so you tend to want to run for a long period of time and then look at the timestamps on the receipt reports.
Yeah, but I think the original question was, what is the energy off of the antenna at the antenna? Not what is it all over the world.
Yep, understood, which is why I said perhaps we wanted to invert the question.
Yeah, what you need is a great big anechoic chamber about 4 miles long and 5 miles high.
Anyone else have care to comment? Okay, any other questions for the net? Please call. Okay, let's open up this to our topic tonight. It's 2-meter sideband, of which I had a request to have somebody talk about. OJ, are you in there?
He will be in about another 5 or 6 minutes, so just keep the conversation going with whatever you want.
Well, you've done it. Do you want to talk about it, Bill?
Nope, because I'm not a single sideband person. I'm not into sideband. I mean, I know about it, but I just don't care about it. I don't like it being called things like slop bucket.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bill, there are better people to talk about it, but I'll be quiet. W0LEV.
Are you going to make lewd comments about it, Dave?
Oh, no, just the Greeleyite. No, I'm not. Been in it for 40, 50 years. Weak signal sideband. 2 meters, 6 meters, 450. So I'll be quiet. W0LEV.
Some of my coolest contacts, by the way, Joe, have been on sideband. The Galapagos, Maritime Mobile from Oklahoma, Russia, all around the world on sideband. I love it as far as being able to contact people. It's amateur radio, but I don't jump up and down and hold my breath because of it.
Yeah, I totally
equal
agree.
power,
Most
equal
of the
antenna
sideband
goes a
contacts
whole
were
lot farther
that too.
than FM.
China, Russia, and all the rest of that. Virgin Islands, Panama, all those other ones. But they were also HF sideband, 2-meter sideband. I've done it when they had that group in Greeley. but that's all I really know about it.
Got covered up, but try again.
Yeah,
LEV.
equal power, equal antennas. It goes a whole bunch further than FM. W0LEV.
There's no doubt about that. There's talk power, nothing like sideband, but like I say, I'm not real fond of Donald Duck.
Have any reference to 2-meter sidebands?
Yeah, it's a great mode. It's very good for working a lot farther than you can on FM. Equal antenna, equal power. What else did I say about it? It's basically horizontally polarized. There are good technical reasons for that, which I will not go into because it gets too technical. Weak signal is really where it shines. And us weak signal types will use sideband or CW. FM is not an appropriate mode for weak signal work. If I were doing it, I honestly wouldn't know where to start. But it's a lot of fun. It's an entirely different group than the FM bunch. Well, that's not true. A lot of people operate sideband, do FM and repeaters as well. In the past, it's required a little more knowledge than is required just to punch a button on an HT, which I'm presently doing. But anybody can enjoy it if they play the game right. Enough said from this end. W0LEV.
Anybody else have any comments?
N0EMP.
N0EMP, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, if you take your high-powered desktop or mobile transceiver, you connect it to a power supply that has an ammeter on it to show how much current you're drawing. Put it on FM, attached to either a dummy load or a proper antenna. Put it on FM, crank it up to 100 watts, and key the mic and start talking. You'll notice that your power drain from your power supply goes up to full. It's going to be about 20 amps. And it stays there the whole time the mic is keyed, whether you're talking or not. That's FM. Because there's a constant carrier there where most of the power is, or all the power in the case of FM. Then switch over to single sideband and do the same thing, and you'll notice that you're only drawing power from your power supply while you're talking. Keying the mic without saying anything shouldn't really show any power draw. And what that translates to is single sideband being a much more efficient mode. And the reason you might care is if you hike or drive up to a hilltop somewhere and set up your antenna and you're running off a battery, and maybe you're topping the battery off with a small solar panel. It's easy to run 100 watts on single sideband and keep going all day. On FM, you're going to deplete your battery very quick, and a small panel won't be enough to keep it topped off. N0EMP.
That's very true. Anyone else have any comments?
OJ is now listening.
Okay, OJ, tell us all about 2-meter sideband.
Well, okay, let me get Kermit out of the way. Okie dokie, K0OJ, 2-meter sideband. 20, 40, you name it. Yep. You're only generating large amounts of power when you talk. Of course, there'll be a little bit of bias draw and receiver and junk like that. So anyway, if you haven't been on sideband, 2 meters in this case, or VHF, whatever, you have a opportunity this evening at 8 o'clock on 144.220 will be the VHF Plus net, which runs every Monday night. Also, 8 o'clock in the mornings, 144.2, albeit the calling frequency. It was that way when I got into it, so that's where it is. We have at least a 1 hour net called the Beam Spinners, and anybody's welcome. We have check-ins from as far away as Casper and as far south as El Prado, New Mexico, that I have heard, but we also have Albuquerque and stuff like that. And by and large, it's going to take a fair amount of power. 100 watts is preferred and up, and horizontally polarized and directional beams. Horizontal seems to be quieter than what vertical is, and I still get lots of line noise. But anyway, some of the activities going on around here you can find at rmvhf.org, which stands for Rocky Mountain VHF. They have a lot of information there. You can also Google the Beam Spinners, and generally the first one will be the Beam Spinners site. There's a lot of information that WE7L has also put there. Once in a great while we have openings. I caught one 7 years ago. Boy, was that fun. Working the East Coast on 2 meter sideband. What a deal. I have been to West Virginia on 2 meter FM. Sometimes we get these openings, particularly April and on, and you just never know when they're going to happen. They just happen. And if you're there, you're there. If you ain't, you ain't. It's kind of like 6, but even less. But many of you have the rigs that do have sideband in them. TS2000s, 7000s, 7100s, a lot of the FT radios, 897, 857, 991, 897s, lots of other rigs as well, 847, and I kind of think that hardly anybody has put them up there and looked around. The calling frequency of 144.2, and tonight at 8 o'clock, 144.220, there will also be another net on 144.220, 7 o'clock Thursday evenings. That one's referred to as the Rotor Busters. And I know that the people down in New Mexico, they're fairly active, and people back east where the openings are much more frequent than here because of the humidity and stuff. So you just never know what you might run into, but if you haven't been on 2 meter sideband, come on up. We have a lot of fun. Don't know what else I can can do omnidirectional antennas, but they lack gain, of which you're going to need a lot of. If I'm not pointed at Casper, I can't hear the guy that checks in from Casper. I got to pretty much be pointed at him. But 50 watts, 100 watts, whatever. Now, if you're vertical, we don't care. If we can hear you, we'll work you. So there you go, Joe. What else can I think of? I don't know. Kaiser OJ.
I certainly don't want to make this a short net, but I have a question, I guess. You said 100 watts plus. I got an 857, and I got an amplifier. I guess I could make that. Well, no, wait a minute. This amplifier won't do it. What amplifier can you do to get over 100 watts?
Oh, there are a fair amount of them out there. RF Concepts, Mirage. I don't know some of the other brands out there, but they're out there. And, 25, 50, whatever you've got, if we can hear you, we'll work you. So it's just better if you have more power, because you're going to be working people direct. You're not going to be working them through a repeater. So the more power you got, the better. The lower loss coax you've got, the better. So anyway, it's not that the 100 watts is a barrier. It's just that is a good starting point. 50 watts is a good starting point. Whatever you got, we'd love to have you up there and work it.
Comment, please.
Oh, that was a perfect double. I have no idea who was in there. Somebody come back.
Comment, please.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, 100 watts isn't an entry level. I worked Hawaii when I was living in Southern Cal with 10 watts on 2-meter side band. You might also go into the propagation modes that are very unique for 2-meter and 220 on sideband that you seldom will see on FM because it doesn't support the signal to noise. But don't let the fact that you're vertically polarized, don't let the fact that you only got 10 watts stop you. Just jump in and have fun. The guys are friendly. W0LEV.
W0SPF.
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, OJ referred to the Rocky Mountain VHL Plus net, which I'm one of the net controls for on the 2-meter, and also I do some of the other bands. You know, we do sideband on Tuesday on 222.1. We do Wednesday at 432.1. Thursday, I think, is 1.2 gigs. That's as high as I go. Oh, no, I also do 900. They have a 900 night. And but when they get up to 2.4 into the microwave stuff, then I don't have the dish setups for that. So I go from basically 2 meters up through 1.2 gigs. Now, we also talk to guys, and there's a guy up in Utah. We used to talk almost every morning. I did it from my truck to a guy in Rapid City, South Dakota on 2-meter with a M-squared loop on my dump truck, and I was running 857 with 50 watts. But, you know, like with me, I run a 300-watt amplifier here when it's working. I'm on a 160 right now. They're Mirages. Put 25 watts in, 160 out. On the other one, it's 25 watts in and 300 watts out. Now, out of the club at Eaton, where Dave's going to be tonight for the net, I think, unless I have to run it, he's got 1,000 watts out there on 2 meters, so he gets out pretty well. And for me, I have a 13-element beam up at 50 feet and running a 7100 ICOM right now. But for the other stuff, I have a FT3 736R Yaesu, which has 220, 2-meter, 440, and 1.2 gig in there. And I run a transverter for 900 megahertz. And let's see what else there. And we also talked to Chad and Larry out there, and one's in Scott City, Kansas, one's in Garden City, Kansas. That's every night on Monday and sometimes in the mornings. So you can get out well with sideband. A lot of guys come in, I was doing it for my truck. I'd be clear down in practically Colorado Springs from Fort Collins, checking into the net in the morning on the beam spinners. And so don't be afraid to use vertical either, because I've got a Diamond 510, it's one of those dual band, practically 18-foot tall antennas, but it's at 20 feet at the lower end and 38 feet at the top. And I have 2 preamps, so I can pull in the vertical guys. Usually there's not anybody I can't hear here at my house. So there you go, Joe. W the rest of us.
Okay, anybody else have any comments?
K9BGU, late check-in.
You have would you like to join us on our 2 major sideband discussion?
I'm just listening right now, Joe.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Anyone else care to comment on 2-meter sideband?
And 0 EMP.
Go right ahead, Greg.
So I've been doing the beam spinners for a couple of years now, and you don't need a lot of investment to get started in it. I have a homemade 5-element Yagi, which doesn't have a lot of gain. It's just got some directionality, a little bit of gain, and that's only about 6 feet above the crest of my roof on a small rotor, and coax coming down to a TS2000 puts out 100 watts on 2 meters, and I have no trouble at all working up into Cheyenne and working down into Elizabeth and Lakewood and Littleton, those areas, Centennial. So I've never heard the guys down in New Mexico with what I've got, but I can talk over half the state and up into Wyoming, and Nebraska with just that. So you don't need a huge investment to get started with it. See if it's something you'd be interested in or not. And 0 EMP.
Anybody else have any comments? Please call. Ever trying to get the repeater? I don't think you've got that.
WSS.
Tony.
Yeah, like I said, don't be afraid to be low power. We had a couple guys that, like Dave, W0EDW, at his house. He had what was that thing? I'm not sure, but anyway, it was just a little 4-element beam in his bedroom on the on the first floor of his house, running a little Yaesu, and I think it was 5 watts. And I was talking to him with my truck from Thornton, clear down from the house here at Hudson, and Dwayne was talking to him from Cheyenne when he had the big station, and I talked to him from Buckley Field out there, and up there when I was down at Monument, and I used to get on the spinners every morning from the truck and see how far I could get out and still talk to people how far, and you'd be amazed. Of course, I had a lot of iron box on the back there for ground plane, but and that M-squared loop up at 10 foot up off the mirror, so that kind of helped. But yeah, 2-meter sideband's a lot of fun. I'll be doing it tonight, Assistant Dave, or be running it if he's at home. So I'm one of the bigger stations when it comes to 2 meters. I can pretty much reach out and touch anybody that's on the air. Ralph up in Evanston, Wyoming, we didn't mention, and of course all the guys on Cheyenne, the rotor buster guys. So anyway, it's a lot of fun on a 2-meter sideband. I was doing it every morning on the way to work from the truck. Back to you.
Oh, that's very good. Like I said, I've done it a couple times when they had that group over in Greeley that did it out there at that guy's place, but that's pretty much all I've ever done. OJ's really been the guy that's done most of it. Anybody have any questions or comments about this? Please call.
AE0AJG.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was able to check into the net the first time. I'm a short-time ham, had my license just over a month, and I'm running 50 watts out of ICOM 7100 into an antenna mounted in my attic, just a simple, I think it claims to have 4 dB a gain antenna, and I was able to check in and hear most of the people. Obviously, there were people that they could hear, that the big guys with the big beams could hear that I could not, but it was still a lot of fun.
Any other comments, questions?
N0EMP.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, the higher you go up in frequency, the less atmospheric noise and natural noise there is. So if you're used to working sideband HF and having to try to listen through the noise, you get up to 2 meters, it's a lot quieter. And most days, it's, you know, once you're tuned in right, you'd think you're talking on FM because that's how clear it is. So it's a lot more comfortable up there. N0EMP.
Yeah, I wish I could add something to the conversation, but I've only done it a couple times, and I just had the 857 out and just kicked this. I've got the same thing that Tony's got, 510, and it really, with the vertical versus horizontal, the horizontal is much better. I could hear these guys. There was a guy out of, I can't remember where he was from, but I could hear him like he was coming through. He couldn't hear me, so that's vertical versus horizontal. So, yeah, I had a problem, but any other comments?
N0TQM.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody was working sideband on 2 meter. I haven't fired up my old Pawn E for many decades. Many decades. So, if I was to hook it up, what would be a likely frequency to look on?
Tritone?
Go ahead, Tony.
Well, since I'm one of the net controls, tonight at the 144.220, 8 o'clock, we're going to do the Rocky Mountain VHF Plus net. And then every morning at 8 o'clock or thereabouts, we do the beam spinners, what we call it. They are on 144.2, the call frequency. Hence, some people said, how come you're on the call frequency? Well, that's where it was when we started, but all the other nets through the whole week are on the call frequency, be it 220 or 432 or 900, or because that's where most people are, and that's how you get them to come in. You know, we give breaks, so if there's an emergency or whatnot, people can get in there. But anyway, 144.200 tonight, or 220, I'm sorry, tonight at 8 o'clock. We usually start about a quarter till, and then in the morning around 8 o'clock in the morning on 144.2. And of course, like OJ said, Thursday at 7, it's 144.220, and that's the Rotor Busters, and they're up in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Well, maybe I'll drag that old Heathkit down here and hook it up and see what kind of smoke comes out and see if I can hear y'all. N0TQM.
All right, I'll listen for you that way when we're on.
Anybody else have any comments, questions? Please call. LCK, Mike, did you get your question answered?
Yeah, it's a KE0LCK, yes. And as usual, it depends. But I got some good information. Thanks.
Anybody else have any comments or questions for the net? Please call.
KE0LCK. Can I catch you after the net? N0EMP.
Roger, Roger. KE0LCK.
late check-in.
Thank you very much, Bart. Did you have any comments about 2-meter sideband?
2-meter sideband, yes I do. In Pennsylvania, I used it extensively, a horizontally polarized 4-element beam, and regularly talked to a guy about 50 miles away, which in Pennsylvania with the terrain there was remarkable. I was very, very impressed with the capabilities. I haven't played with it here yet. Don't have a horizontal beam up yet, but that is some fascinating stuff. It's amazing how far it will go.
CW will even go farther if you know it. Also, some of these new, what the heck was that? JT8, JT65, there was that FT8, and some of the other digital modes. People have been doing those quite a lot as well, and a lot of the people are able to do moon bounce on 2 meters with maybe, let's say, 12 elements or something like that, and 100 watts. You ain't going to do it on voice, but with those digital modes, they apparently have been doing it. I have not played with any of those modes, so I don't know. Let's see, Slate, haven't heard you for a long time. Wonder what the newest rig is that you have. If it has 2-meter sideband, do that instead. But anyway, yep, the digital modes, have not experienced them, so that adds more to it there, Joe, Kaiser OJ.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. Like I said, I've only tried it a couple times, and that was with that group over Greeley that I don't even know if they're still there or not. I think they did it on, like, Thursday. I don't remember what night it was. So, anybody else have any comments, questions about this?
KB0FCX, George and Bertha, late check-in.
Hi, George. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm going to turn on my 7100 to 2-meter sideband and see what I can hear.
Hey, Joe?
Yes, Bill?
Keep referring to that Greeley bunch on sideband. They're going to be on tonight at 8 o'clock. OJ keeps saying it.
Oh, I guess... Fine.
Try it again. You were stumped.
David Russell. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I'm one of that bunch. I used to go up to Mark's all the time, but I've been doing it from the house more since I've been laid up. But that was K0MLM, which Dave was up there, I'm sure. And about an hour he'll be starting in. But I'm part of the Greeley bunch. I used to go up there almost every weekend until I got the big station here at the house, and they talked me to being into one of the net controls from here. Because, you know, I can flat get out on 2-meter sideband, one of the big guns in town, as they call us. But, yeah, that was, at the time, OJ and me and Dave W0EDW and some of the guys from Fort Collins, you know, K1TJ and them would come down, and we used to have bring food and eat there before we do the net. So that was a couple years ago, but it was always fun out there. And that's where they have the 1,000-watt station. And he's got an 18 XXX, but he's going to pair 2 of them. They have got 2 they're going to put up at about 60 feet and double game here sometime maybe this spring.
I was out there too, Tony.
And Bill was out there too, but I mean us guys that were actually doing the net. I'm sorry, Bill.
Okay, they're still in business. That's good. I guess I didn't know that they were still doing it. I hadn't heard them on for a while. and they don't come to the WARS meeting, so I just didn't know.
Well, that's Dave, W0EDW. He's one of the main guys, and the founders of it is Wayne, N0POH, and a couple other guys there in Denver, and W6OAL, Dr. Dave. He's down in Parker, but Dave's been there for years, but he comes to most of the meetings, and he's basically the guy in charge nowadays.
Yeah, I guess he was there at that one. I never thought about asking him.
Or he could talk to me. I'm one of them, too, so there you go. W0SPS.
Any other questions for the net? Or any other about 2-meter sideband? Please call now.
This is Alpha Echo Zero Alpha Golf. I'm sorry, I forgot to check in before I talked before.
That's okay. Have you got anything else to add?
No, I'm too green.
With this, I'm as green as you are, my friend. Like I said, I've only tried it once or twice, and that's pretty much it.
And one closing comment from W0LEV.
About 2-meter sideband. Please call.
Yeah, one closing comment from W0LEV.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, big advantage. There are no repeaters involved when you make a contact. It is from station to station, which is amateur radio. Not over the internet, not through repeaters, just like HF in that respect. The other thing is sideband goes equal antenna, equal power, much, 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 much further than FM does. Big advantage. And of course, like Greg commented, it uses far less power. That's it for me, W0LEV.
Very good. Anyone else have any comments about 2-meter sideband?
N0EMP.
N0EMP, go ahead.
Yeah, I was away from the radio a little bit, so I apologize if I'm repeating something, but first of all, just a reminder, technicians have full privileges, 6 meters and up. So techs can do all this stuff. Secondly, there are beacons, low-power propagation beacons, you know, Colorado and adjoining states all around. They're actually all over the world, but you won't hear them all on VHF. But there are beacons from 6 meters all the way through, 2 meter, 70 centimeter, up through all the microwave bands. So when you set up an antenna or a station, you can listen for those to test your equipment and check propagation.
That's a good point. Anyone else have any comments?
SCX.
Go ahead, sir.
What mode do those beacons transmit in? KB0SCX.
They're usually CW.
W0SPS.
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, they're code. Oh, there was the folks' phone, but they're in code and they're all sideband, but of course upper sideband. But I don't know if the website's back up, but you know the club tonight, which I'm on the net controls, RockyMountainVHF.org. It's RMVHF.org. They showed where all the beacon sites are. Like there's one in South Park, one out there at Parker. I think Ralph has one up there in Wyoming, down in Texas. I'm not sure if it's EZW or which one has the one in, not Texas, in, what do you call it, Kansas. And it's around Scott City or Garden. Probably OJ could tell you that better than me on that one. But anyway, they're all over the place with the beacons. W0SPS.
OJ, would you care to chime in?
I supposed to chime in to about? I was doing something else.
The beacons.
Okay, the ones that I can remember, and this would be if you're listening on upper sideband, not CW, but anyway, the frequencies that they are on, well, the actual carrier frequency, so you can do it that way. I think the one up at Como is 144 282, I think. The one up near Casper is 144. They're all going to be well, they won't. 144 298. That one will be awful hard to hear. I don't know if they have a 220 beacon. I don't know what that one is. The one down at Scott City, Kansas is 144 288. And that one is the N0YK beacon. There is, let's see, 432 360, I think. All that information will be on rmvhf.org, I'm sure. But the Casper and the Como Jefferson one, you should be able to hear them okay, especially if you've got a beam you can point that way, or unless you're up against the mountains. So let's see, the Colorado one is 144 282, the Kansas 144 288, and the Casper one, or in that area somewhere down by Douglas or something, 144 298. Listen, down about 700 cycles if you're on upper sideband.
Did that help you out? So, anyone else have any comments? Please call.
NYY.
Art.
What is the frequency of the Greeley 8 o'clock group?
Bart, which group are you talking about?
Somebody mentioned there was a group in Greeley tonight at 8 o'clock.
144.220.
144 220. Thank you.
Okay, here's something for you, Joe. Let me get up here. Okay, that's the Como Jefferson beacon.
Tony?
Yeah,
Yeah, I looked it up, and the RockyMountainVHF.org net, the webpage is still down, so we've been talking to Wayne about when he's going to get it back up, but it is down at this moment. And yeah, I meant CW, OJ. That's what they put out as CW. They don't voice announce. I know it's upper sideband, but anyway, there you go.
And I was receiving that at 144-28103. So there you go, Uncle Hosey.
Hey, thanks for that. I appreciate that, because I never would have found that. Any other comments about this? This is really fascinating. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the net tonight really isn't Greeley. You know, there's different ones of us that do it, mostly me and Dave. But I'm at Hudson, and when Wayne used to do it, he was at home, but he's putting in a new station in. They had to remodel their house, and the station's down, but he hasn't done it for quite a while. Dr. Dave, W6OAL, used to do it from Parker Highlands. Well, if you can ever get down there, he's old-time antennas. He builds antennas for the military and all kinds of people, and he has a place in his back behind his house in a shed where he builds them. But he was the one making those 2-meter halos, the little thin, round-looking halo that some of us have on our vehicles. He makes. But on my big truck, I was running an M-squared loop. But anyway, there you go. It's a fun band, and I've been doing it net control there for 6 years now with the net tonight on 144.220. So there you are. WRSBS.
You know, I will say this. It's a lot of fun to try that. Like I said, I'm dealing with vertical over horizontal, and that's where I had problems. But I got in over there. That wasn't a problem. So if you got a shot with an 857 or one of the ICOMs or an 897, which they don't make anymore, but they still have out there, give it a shot, because it's well worth doing. Any other comments? Please call.
K0PRV.
Hi, Phil. Go ahead.
It's a quick question for Tony. Tony, I keep hearing you on there, but I can't catch your call sign. All I hear is Innsbruck. Can you clarify your call sign, please?
Well, am I ripping it out too fast? You know, when you get on those contests, you got to be quick. So anyway, Whiskey Zero, Sierra Bravo Sierra, Super Beam Spinner, they call me, or sideband station, and a few other things, but we'll let those go. WRSBS.
Okay, thank you very much. K0PRB.
Bill, do you have any comments about 2-meter sideband or any questions?
No, sir. Just been listening in and catching all the jargon, and I was definitely not familiar with 2-meter sideband whatsoever. So it's a good discussion, really is. I'll have to give it a go sometime.
Well, WRSBS, one more thing. Sorry I'm hogging it tonight.
No, go ahead, Tony.
One thing we can be kind of proud of here in Colorado, and I think OJ remembers that, we used to be one of the biggest 2-meter sideband net groups in the US of A. We were really busy with it. I remember when we used to get 30, 40 check-ins every Monday night, and then the beam spinners, we used to get a bunch. I think OJ still holds the record for the amount of check-ins, but we were actually listed in QST or somewhere at one time, I think, that we were one of the biggest sideband active groups in the whole U.S. There you go, WRSBS.
Oh, very good. Any other comments?
KD0EXV.
KD0EXD, I think it was. Go ahead.
Yeah, nothing to add. Just wanted to say hi to all the folks that are on the air that know me, and good to hear from you.
Hi, Brian.
5 minute, hello, Brian.
K6VP.
Hello, Brian, Smith.
I heard Bill. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was just saying hello to Brian. How you doing, by the way? I haven't heard from you in a long time. K6VP,
It's been a while since I've been on the air, and but I think about you and OJ quite a bit, as well as Tony.
Glad to hear from you.
Well, jump in. Good to hear you, Brian. I was wondering how you were at WZRS.
Oh, Tony, I'm doing fair to poor, but trying to get back onto the air a little more often.
Hey, Brian, long time no hear. It's good to hear you in there. Kilo Charlie 0, Quebec Oscar, Kilo Casey 0, QK. Good evening, Brian.
Hey, good to hear you, Marty, and I'll give you a holler on your repeater or by phone.
Yeah, feel free to call me. I'm out and about, but that's all right. I need to get over to Greeley and have lunch or something one of these days soon.
Okay, sounds good. Will be good to see you.
Okay, well, you took me by surprise. A little better to get back to Joe's net. And I do have a question for Tony, though.
Go ahead, Marty.
That loop you had on the semi, well, I guess it was not a semi. It used to be a semi. That was a horizontal loop, is that right? What was about how big is the loop dimension? And also, I'm assuming that's for a mobile. Then there's bound to be a nice loop. So it's a horizontal omnidirectional. Is that correct, Tony?
I wait for the station identification there. Yeah, it's an M-squared loop. It's probably about 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. You know, it comes off of the rod and then it goes out about maybe 8 inches on each side, 6 inches probably. And then it goes forward and then it comes back and it makes a nice little square. It's an M-squared loop. You can probably look those up for 2 meter. They're not really big. Beside it, I ran a Diamond 7700 vertical and I had a switch laying on the passenger seat so I could go vertical to horizontal. I was running an 857 for quite a while, and then I added a Mirage 10 160 or 10 watts in, 160 out, so that helped a little bit because, you know, with the big truck batteries and the alternator, you know, you had plenty of power. So, but yeah, it's not very big. You know, it was a 94 Kenworth, and I was still a semi at the end. I was pulling a pup, so I was still 18-wheeler, but not quite the one I had the end dumps on it and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was just kind of thinking of where I live, a horizontal loop like that would be great for the base station. I'm not having to turn the beam this way and that. I've got a beam. Anyway, all right. That still might be something I might want to do in the.
All right, on the second note, I have a pair of that I actually made myself. I have a pair of stacked
right,
basically
I'll let it get back to the net.
I have them on a fiberglass pole, and they were phased, and I ran 2 of them, sort of like for field days and stuff. And they worked pretty well for that with the stacked pair of M squares.
All right, we had a little bit of a double. We can catch up later on that anyway, Tony. I'm glad Joe's going to get back to where he's supposed to be going. KC0QA.
All right, sorry about that. Hope I'm not doubling again. I was just saying I had a pair of stacked M squared loops, since that's what we're talking about tonight. I still have them out there in the shed. I don't know if I want to sell them or keep them, but I had them phased, and it was on a fiberglass pole where I could hook it on top of a vehicle on a mag mounter on the back on the receiver hitch, and I used to use it for field day. But it worked pretty good, stack a pair of them M squared loops. But anyway, back to you, Joe.
That's perfectly fine, guys. If you guys want to talk this thing out, I mean, it's a tech net, and that's what it's for. So, anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, has anybody got any comments or anybody got any questions for the net about something that they're interested in? Well,
just checking in. Kilo Fox Zero, Colorado boy.
And everyone for doing that. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about repeater protocol. I've heard some wild things, and Darren and I talked about it this weekend on the net, and it's really not a big deal, but we kind of want to let everybody know that there is some sort of protocol. You're not against the FCC or anything like that, but we'll get back to you. So if there's no other anything else, the repeater's open for general use. Everybody have a pleasant evening. Mike, LCK, you got a second?
Yes, sir. Can I catch Greg first? He asked about me earlier. KE0LCK.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Mike. Let me make sure I got this. Yeah, we drove up all the way to the property yesterday. Even with the snow that's up there, we had no trouble at all. Road was mostly clear, and even up on the property itself, we could get around without any trouble with my Xterra. There's some materials up there, some building materials, including some plastic electrical conduit. It's like 2-inch, 1.5 inch, 2-inch. I think they're 10-foot sections. I'm going to look at those again tomorrow, but I think I could use a couple of those to support a quarter-wave wire for 20 meters and lay some radials out. So we could have that set up to where we can just drive up there and hook up to it. So find out if your guy works vertical on 20 meters, and whenever you want to try and set up an appointment to try to make that contact with them. Maybe Saturday or Sunday. I've got nothing going on as far as I know so far. Weather's supposed to be pretty nice.
6VP clear.
This is KE0LCK. Yeah, Greg. It's probably going to be at least a week. I haven't been able to get a hold of them, and I didn't hear him check into the net tonight, and I'm going out of town for a little bit. Anyhow, what I do have is I've got the 817 up and running with my tuner, and I have a end-fed wire that's 20 meters. And I've been able to have some success with that here. And I also have the my vertical buddy stick that I could also use. But right now, until I can get a hold of them and we can agree on a time and something like that, it's going to be a little difficult.
Okay, well, the weather's next Monday and Tuesday is supposed to be really good so far. I'm going to try to get a 20-meter antenna set up there anyway, but just let me know when. Let me know what he works. Whether he works horizontal, I can put up a dipole real easy up there. Otherwise, if he works vertical, we'll get a quarter-wave vertical set up, and should have a lower angle of radiation than your buddy stick vertical, which is going to be a real key to hitting somebody at that distance, that close. We need a real low angle. So just let me know, and we'll get up there. And 0 EMP.
Kilo 50, Colorado boys just checking in.
Days, and it will be next week, mid next week at the earliest. So I'm thinking, we'll pick a warmer day for sure and haul some stuff up and then give it a shot. But I appreciate it, and it's a good location. That's why I kind of went up that way anyhow to see what I could see, and it's a good area. I kind of remember it now. KE0LCK.
All right, just let me know. I'm usually on this repeater. N0 EMP.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. KE0LCK, thank you. And let's see. Joe, yeah, I knew there was somebody else I need to talk to. Go ahead, bud.
Hey, Mike, you sent me a note, said that they're going to do the MAC thing on the 9th. That's kind of odd. It's usually the 3rd week.
Hold on 1 second, please.